have reached Rental of Third Review. I'm your man, Steele, and today I'll be reviewing Transformers Legacy Evolution. Transformers Legacy Evolution Metalhawk. But before I get to the actual review, I just want to go over some of the awesome details on this packaging. Up front here, it's we're showing you both the figure and all its accessories inside. On the top of the packaging here, you have the Transformers Legacy Evolution logo. Next to that, you have a QR code, and once you scan that QR code, it takes you right to a website where you can read Metalhawk's tech spec. Now for the packaging here, in the corner, you have the 8+, which is the age requirement for this figure. Near the corner here, you have the Takara Tomy Transformers Generation logo. Along the side here, it says Transformers. In the middle, you have a beautiful illustration of Metalhawk in his jet mode. And over here, it says it is an Autobot Metalhawk. Then down here, you have the Transformers Legacy Evolution logo. And down here, you have the Hasbro emblem. Next to that, it says it is a Voyager class figure. Then over here, it states that it's from plastic-free packaging. Inside the packaging here, you have two cool pictures of Metalhawk in his robot mode. And on the other side of the packaging here, this beautiful montage of all the figures in Transformers Legacy Evolution, starting with Breakdown. You have Prime, and below that you have Tarn. Over here you have Leo Prime. Then down here you have Needle Nose. Then over here you have Crosscut. Then you have a little thing with the Dinobots and Junkion. Below that it says, again, it's from plastic-free packaging. Then down here you have the Transformers Authentic logo. Then the back of the packaging here, you have all the figures features such as Metalhawk in his robot mode and Metalhawk in his jet mode. Transformers Legacy Evolution Voyager class Metalhawk. Metalhawk was released on March 25th, 2023 with the suggested retail price of $35.99 and is available at all major retailers. Metalhawk was released along with the other Transformers Legacy Evolution Voyager class Wave 2 figure, Twincast. Metalhawk is a Transformers Victory inspired figure that converts into his jet mode in 18 steps. His accessories include 2 blasters, sword, and instructions. Metalhawk stands 6.5 inches tall and he is meant for fans ages 8 and up. Now I'm going to go ahead and convert Metalhawk from his robot mode all the way to his jet mode. But the first thing you always want to do before you transform any of your Transformers, you want to remove all the weapons and accessories. I'm going to take his blasters, put that off to the side. I'm going to put his sword, put that off to the side. Because the first step of the transformation, they have to take these fists right here. They want to go ahead and swing them right into his forearm, just like that. Going to that to the other side, this fist, put it right into the forearm, just like that. Step number 2, you want to turn Metalhawk all the way around? You have these wing panels right there and right there. You have a tab right there and right there. You have little portholes on the side of forearms right there and right there. You have a double jointed hinge right there and right there. You want to go ahead and pop this wing out so this tab goes right into the forearm, just like that. Do it to the other side to this wing panel, pop it out, and make sure that tab goes right into the forearm, just like that. Step number 3, you want to turn Metalhawk all the way around? You get this chest panel right here. You want to pop this chest panel out, just like that. Step number 4, you have a couple butterfly joints right there and right there. You want to go untab it and bring the arms back just like that. Do that to the other side, untab it, and bring the arms back just like that. Step number 5, you have this little back assembly right here, you have a hinge joint right down there. You want to take it, you want to separate it just like that. Step number 6, you have this nose cone inside Metalhawk's chest. You want to go and flip this nose cone up, just like that. Step number 7, you have the rest of the nose cone right here. the hinge joint right here. You want to go and flip that rest of that nose cone up, just like that. Step number 8. I want to this chest piece right here. I want to flip it back up, just like that. Step number 9. That back assembly you brought down earlier. All you want to do now is go and push that right back into place, just like that. Step number 10. You have these panels on the back of his legs right there and right there. They want to go and flip these panels up just like that. Do it to the other side of this panel and flip it up just like that. Step number 11. You have these feet right here. They want to go and flip these feet right into the back of the leg just like that. Do it to the other side, flip that foot right in the back of the leg just like that. Step number 12. On those panels, there's another panel on the inside. You want to go and flip that up just like that. Do it to the other side to this panel and flip it up just like that. Step number 13. Those panels you flipped up, then you go and just bring them back down just like that. Do it to the other side, bring that panel down just like that. Step number 14. You got a double jointed hinge right at the knee right here. What they want you to do is take the thigh and collapse it right into the leg. You do that by working those hinge joints into each other just like that. Do it to the other side, take that thigh, collapse it right into the leg just like that. Step number 15. Get these two leg pieces down here. There's a tab right in the middle right there. There's a porthole right there. All they want to do is go ahead and just snap those together just like that. Step number 16. This whole back assembly right here is a hinge joint right in the middle. Let's go ahead and rotate that all the way around just like that. Step number 17. That whole piece you just rotated around, got a porthole right there. The leg piece right here, you got a couple tabs. Just go ahead and just put that all together just like that. The 18th and final step. Get these two pieces right here. You got a tab right there. You got a porthole right there on both sides. Tab right there, porthole. There's a hinge joint right here. It's a double jointed hinge. So you want to kind of work it till this piece goes right into that piece. Do it to the other side. You get that double jointed hinge. You want to work it so this tab goes right in that porthole. Just like this. And now you have Metalhawk in his full jet mode. That Metalhawk in his jet mode and on my display table, so we'll go over some of his play features and accessories, first by talking about his sword. And according to the instructions, there's a way to store the sword while Metalhawk is in his jet mode. And as moves on the back of the sword here, you have a little peg right there. On top of his jet, and in its very center, you have a porthole right there. We'll take the sword now with that peg and plug it right into that porthole, just like that. And now you have Metalhawk with his sword stored while he's in his jet mode. But I'm personally not a big fan of storing my weapons while my Transformers are in their vehicle mode. So I'm going to take this sword and put it off to the side. So the next accessory I'm going to talk about are his two blasters. And I do feel like these two blasters do play a role in the transformation. Because on the side of these blasters, you have two slotted pegs right there and right there. On the back of the jet, you have two portholes right there and right there. What they want you to go and do, they want you to go ahead and plug this blaster right into that porthole, just like that. I'm going to do that to the other side. Take this blaster with those two pegs right there and right there, plug it right into that porthole right there and right there. And now, once these blasters are in, I feel like this is the actual transformation, the full transformation for Metalhawk, because the Extra Generation 1 toy with the inner robot had these two blasters that became tail fins also. So I think that's a cool nod. And this jet is actually, and I don't want to believe it because I did read that it was a retool of Cyclonus. But after doing a transformation and seeing some of the parts were very similar to Cyclonus, like the arm pieces right here and right here, and the transformation is very reminiscent of the, I believe it was Kingdom Cyclonus. So it's very similar. So he is a retool, but he's a very well done retool of Cyclonus, and I'm glad that they're able to engineer and not just do a repaint. They just engineer and retool some pieces to make it look like a whole different Transformer. So to the untrained eye, he is not Cyclone. Well, untrained eye, you wouldn't see the Cyclonus through this mold. Very nicely done. I think he's a great figure. And his colors are more reminiscent of the animated series from Transformers Master Force. And Master Force it's a funny story because Transformers United States ended after season 3 with a miniseries called Rebirth, and they kind of just, wrapped up the story in that little 3-part miniseries. Well, Japan they wanted to keep the story going, so they bypassed Rebirth and they went to the next series called Headmasters, which featured the Headmaster Transformers, Scorponok, Fortress Maximus, the Target Masters. They went to their own storyline. Then after that series ended, they went to Master Force, which was more about the Pretenders and the Power Masters, which they called God Masters in Japan. Well, Metalhawk was a character that was never released in the United States. He was more exclusive to the Japanese series Master Force, and he was the leader of the Pretenders. Very cool figure. And I do have my Generation 1 Metalhawk on hand, do a side-by-side comparison. And as you can see, the scale difference is significant because this is just the inner robot to a Pretender. And what a Pretender was I'm not sure what it was supposed to be in the United States. I believe they were supposed to be like large humans with robots inside of them, or they could be regular-sized humans that had little robots in them. I'm not sure. Because they didn't really get into the storyline. They didn't really touch too much upon it in the comic book series. But the robots were very tiny robots that went into these large shells. And I have my Metalhawk shell right here. And it's really nicely done. And unfortunately, he is probably the best Autobot Pretender. He just never saw the light of day in the United States. We'll put it off to the side for now. So I want to go and talk about the jet mode for both these figures. And I mean, the jet mode for the Legacy version is miles better than the Generation 1 version. Which, in vehicle mode, I do favor the Generation 1 vehicle mode for a lot of the Transformer toys. And the robot mode always goes to the War for Cybertron Studio Series or Legacy figures. But in this case, I have to give it to the Legacy version of Metalhawk. It's just such a better version, and being a retool of Cyclonus, I don't see any. I mean, with all the retooling, like I mentioned earlier on, I don't see any Cyclonus in this mold. They did a great job, and I'm glad that they're able to do that without just doing a repaint and putting another character name like they used to. They're engineering a whole different figure from another mold. But I'm gonna go ahead and put Metalhawk off to the side. We're gonna go and talk about this version of Metalhawk. It's a very nicely done figure. I'm gonna rotate around so you guys see what it looks like from all angles. And like I said, I do see Cyclonus, and unfortunately with my research I did run across the information that he is a retool of Cyclonus, and I do see it. I do see it now with the transformations identical to Cyclonus. They did such a great job engineering Metalhawk from this mold. Now, one beef I have again, and they've been doing this lately with a lot of these newer figures, is there's no landing gear. And with kids, I know kids are gonna be playing with this, and you risk damaging the bottom of the figures, which you'll scratch up the mold. So when you transform Metalhawk to his robot mode, and if you're racing across abrasive surfaces, you're going to damage the bottom of Metalhawk and even scrape the paint off. So I just don't understand why Hasbro and Takara are not putting like landing gears and even wheels. I mean, even when they put little pegs for the landing gear, they should, like these right here, they should be putting little wheels on the end so you don't risk damaging your figures. But other than that, I mean, I'm personally just going to display my Metalhawk in this robot mode, but I'm going to rotate him around so you guys see what it looks like from all angles. A great figure nonetheless. Now that Metalhawk in his robot mode and on my display table, so I want to go over some of his play features and accessories, first by talking about his sword again. And according to the instructions, there's a way to arm the sword while Metalhawk is in his robot mode. You do that because the handle right here is actually a 5mm peg. Each one of his fists is a 5mm porthole. He's plugged the sword to either one of these fists, and now you have Metalhawk armed with the sword. And the sword's really cool because the sword is almost identical to the Generation 1 version that it's based on, which I do have on hand, do a side-by-side comparison. So I'm going to go and take Metalhawk's sword, and this one right here is the Generation 1 version of the sword. And I can't tell you which one's better, which one's more superior, because they're both cool in their own unique ways. And they're very similar. I like the shape of the sword. I kind of like the way the blade's shaped. Really nicely done. Very spacey robotic, if you know what I mean. I'm going to go put that off to the side. Because also, according to the instructions, there's a way to store the sword while Metalhawk is in his robot mode. So earlier on, I showed you that there's a peg right in the hilt right there. Well, right in the center of his back, there's a porthole right there. So I'm gonna go and plug that peg right into that porthole, and now you have Metalhawk with his sword stored while he's in robot mode. Really, really, really cool. I like it, but I'm not a big fan of storing my weapons while my Transformers are in their robot mode, so I would take the sword and put it off to the side. So the next accessory I'm gonna go and talk about are his double blasters right here. You can arm them one of two ways. You can arm them individually. You got the peg right on the bottom here. Like I mentioned earlier on, each one of these fists is a 5mm porthole. You can plug them in both the fists, just like that. And now you have Metalhawk armed with both his blasters. But they're the Evo Fusion gimmick where you can combine weapons to make a super weapon. So you go and take these two little blasters, combine them together because you get the pegs right there and they're engineered so they can go inside of each other and form a super blaster right here. You got two pegs right here. You can plug the fist in either one of the pegs, which I'll do the inner peg, and now you have him armed with his double barrel blaster. I'm going to bring the sword back in. And the cool, unique thing about the sword is, at least with the Generation 1 sword, is the same sword, but the inner robot could not arm the sword, which I do have on hand. Do a side-by-side comparison. And you see the two fins right here. Unfortunately, you can't combine them because that's more of a gimmick for the Legacy version of Metalhawk. But you can't take that sword and put it into his fist. It's more for the outer robot, which I'll get into right now. The outer robot also comes with a big blaster, which they didn't really incorporate with the Legacy version of Metalhawk. But you only arm these weapons with the outer shell. And like I mentioned earlier on, the gimmick behind the Pretenders was there were like little inner robots that hid in these shells. And whether or not in Japan what they did was they had the mass shifting of matter, where there were humans that had robots that could like transform outside of whatever the I don't know if it was a shell or if it was a hologram, but there were robots that were hiding inside of humans that were regular skilled Transformers. Well, in a comic book, they did something where there were larger humanoid figures that had the shells inside of them, and they were traveling around space. So I mean, there's not really a continuity that really had, you know, the Pretenders like that were more significant. I know in the movies they touched upon Pretenders also, but this Pretender right here, as you can see, suffers because of the gimmick they wanted to incorporate with the Pretenders, which is a very unique gimmick. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how that worked with this, because Metalhawk is the first Pretender figure in the Legacy War for Cybertron Studio Series era of figures where they didn't just incorporate the shell and the robot and kind of give it like a hybrid and they came out with a figure like they did with Iguanas, and I think they did that with Bombburst and a few of the other Pretender figures where they kind of combined both the robot and the shell and incorporate it into the figure. They actually were very faithful to the animated model from the Generation 1 cartoon series Master Force, where even the color scheme more matches the anime series than it does the toy. I mean, the toy had the metal chrome right here, which is a real nice touch. And this figure kind of bothers me a little bit because he has no neck. He just looks, I mean, he really suffered because he was supposed to be incorporated as a Pretender. But these Pretender shells do split in half, which I'll show you. And they're pegged together. And this is the older one, so I don't really want to risk damaging it too much. But you get this shell that's hollowed out. And what happens is you gotta do a slight transformation with these inner robots. I'm gonna pull out these blasters, and I believe you have to take these butterfly joints for the shoulders. You have to bring them in just like that. And I just lost Metalhawk. It's okay, I'll go and bring him back in a second. You kind of fold these wings into each other just like that and just like that. You got his feet right here. You want to bring him up just like, no, it goes in like that and like that. I'm sorry guys, I'm just going off pure memory with these figures. And it goes right into this inner shell, just like this. Then you take this shell, and you put it in just like that. And that's where the gimmick is more about the robot inside the shell. I'm gonna put his helmet back on. And Metalhawk is a cool figure, and he's very hard to get. You know, he was very, you know, like he's more for collectors, because what happened was when Transformers entered the United States, they brought out some of the Pretenders, and they went their own direction with the Pretenders. Like there's some Pretenders that did not come out in Japan that came out in the United States, and there was one Pretender that came out in Japan that did not come out in the United States, and that was Metalhawk. And do like Metalhawk. Out of all the Pretenders, I believe he's probably the best one, and I'm sad that he was left out of the U.S. series. And if you're a big fan, and out of the 3 Japanese series, I believe that Master Force is more my favorite because it does incorporate Power Master, Optimus Prime, the Pretenders, Overlord. It was just a great overall series, and I would recommend checking it out. But he was a great figure. But I'm so glad that they brought him out for Legacy because I'm a big fan of the Japanese continuity of Transformers. I mean, Headmasters kind of went in their own direction, but I'm glad they brought out Twin Cast, and Twin Cast came out in the same wave as Metalhawk. But such a great figure, great color scheme, and I know that they're re-releasing Metalhawk in the toy colors, which I don't really see how that can be because the gold metal die cast. But we'll see what happens. But I'm going to rotate around so you guys see what it looks like from all angles. A great figure. But if you found any of the information in this review valuable, please like and share this video. Also, if you really enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel, and while you're there, click the bell to be notified of any future videos. I want to thank you guys for watching Steele's Awesome Toy Collector Review. I'll check you guys out next time.